Hey there! In this video we are going to uncover why the United States joined World War I. In the previous video we explored how and why the war started. If you missed it, you can find it in description. The United States, a nation founded on principles of peace and self-determination, approached the outbreak of war in Europe with a sense of cautious detachment. The country, still healing from its own internal conflicts and civil war, was wary of entangling itself in foreign disputes. The American public, enjoying a period of relative prosperity and growth, was largely focused on domestic issues and the promise of the American dream. President Woodrow Wilson, a staunch advocate for diplomacy and international cooperation, urged Americans to remain impartial in thought and deed. He believed that the nation's strength lay in its ability to mediate and foster peace rather than engage in warfare. Wilson's vision for America was one of a moral leader, guiding the world through the power of example and reason. The nation, he believed, should serve as a beacon of peace, a neutral arbiter in a world consumed by conflict. Wilson's speeches often highlighted the importance of maintaining a balanced perspective, emphasizing that America's role was to promote stability and harmony. He envisioned the United States as a sanctuary of peace, where different cultures and ideas could coexist and thrive. Public opinion, however, was far from unified. The American populace was deeply divided on the issue of involvement in the European conflict. While some supported Wilson's stance on neutrality, others felt a moral or cultural obligation to support their ancestral homelands. This division was further complicated by the diverse makeup of the American society. The nation was a melting pot of cultures and ethnicities, many with deep ties to the warring nations. Immigrants from Europe brought with them their histories, loyalties, and sometimes their conflicts. These communities often held strong opinions about the war, influenced by their connections to their countries of origin. This created a complex tapestry of perspectives within the United States. German Americans sympathized with the Central Powers, feeling a sense of loyalty to their homeland and concern for their relatives and friends still living in Germany. They organized cultural events and gatherings to support their cause, fostering a sense of community and solidarity among themselves. While many Americans of British or French descent felt a natural kinship with the Allied cause, they too held events and rallies expressing their support for the countries they or their ancestors had left behind. This duality of loyalties created a palpable tension within American society. Newspapers fanned the flames of division, publishing inflammatory accounts of atrocities committed by both sides. Sensationalist headlines and biased reporting often swayed public opinion, making it difficult for many Americans to remain neutral. The media played a significant role in shaping the national discourse, often prioritizing sensationalism over balanced reporting. Despite the growing tensions, President Wilson remained steadfast in his commitment to neutrality. He believed that by staying out of the conflict, the United States could offer a unique perspective and potentially broker peace. Wilson's resolve was tested repeatedly, but he held firm to his principles, advocating for patience and diplomacy. He believed that the United States, by remaining above the fray, could play a vital role in mediating a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Wilson envisioned America as a mediator, a nation that could bring warring parties to the negotiating table and help them find common ground. His vision was one of hope and reconciliation. The nation, he argued, had a moral obligation to use its influence to restore order to the world. Wilson's speeches often invoked the idea of a higher purpose, suggesting that America's destiny was to lead by example and promote peace. He believed that through steadfast commitment to neutrality and diplomacy, the United States could help usher in a new era of global cooperation and understanding. The delicate balance of American neutrality was shattered on May 7, 1915, by an event that sent shockwaves across the nation. This day marked a turning point in history, as the United States grappled with the implications of a world at war and the loss of innocent lives. The RMS Lusitania, a British ocean liner en route from New York to Liverpool, was torpedoed by a German U-boat off the coast of Ireland. The attack was sudden and devastating, leaving little time for passengers and crew to react. The ship, carrying over 1,900 passengers and crew, including 128 Americans, sank within minutes. The chaos and terror of that moment were unimaginable, as people scrambled to find lifeboats and save their loved ones. The sinking of the Lusitania ignited a firestorm of outrage across the United States. Citizens were horrified by the loss of life and the apparent disregard for civilian safety. Newspapers published graphic accounts of the tragedy, depicting the sinking as a barbaric act of unprovoked aggression. The headlines screamed of injustice and called for accountability. Public opinion, once divided, began to shift decisively against Germany. The nation, which had been steadfast in its neutrality, now found itself questioning its stance in the face of such brutality. The image of innocent civilians, including women and children, perishing in the depths of the Atlantic was seared into the nation's conscience. The grief and mourning were palpable, as families across the country grappled with their loss. President Wilson, though deeply troubled by the Lusitania tragedy, continued to resist calls for war. He faced immense pressure from both the public and his advisors, yet he remained committed to finding a peaceful resolution. He condemned the sinking as an unjustifiable act, but maintained that the United States, while prepared to defend its rights as a neutral nation, would not be drawn into a European war. Wilson's stance was one of caution and restraint, emphasizing the importance of diplomacy. The nation, he insisted, must remain a force for peace. Despite the tragedy, Wilson believed that America could lead by example, promoting peace and stability in a world torn apart by conflict. His vision was one of hope, even in the darkest of times. As the war in Europe raged on, another event occurred that would further erode American neutrality and push the nation closer to the brink of war. In January 1917, British intelligence intercepted a coded message from Arthur Zimmermann, the German foreign minister, to the German ambassador in Mexico. The Zimmermann telegram, as it became known, contained a stunning proposal. Germany, seeking to divert American resources from the European theater, offered Mexico a secret alliance in the event of war with the United States. In exchange for Mexico's support, Germany promised to help them reclaim territories lost to the United States in the Mexican-American War, including Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. The revelation of the Zimmermann telegram, published in American newspapers in March 1917, sent shockwaves through the nation. The telegram, widely perceived as a threat to American sovereignty, fueled public outrage against Germany and strengthened calls for war. The incident, coming on the heels of the Lusitania sinking, made it increasingly difficult for President Wilson to maintain his policy of neutrality. As the war escalated, nations from across the globe began to enter the fray. Each brought with them their own unique strategies, strengths, and challenges. The world watched as alliances were forged and battles intensified. It was a time of uncertainty, where every decision could tip the scales. And yet amidst the chaos, a sense of duty and purpose drove soldiers forward, into the heart of the conflict. As the war raged on, the United States saw a surge in national unity. Communities rallied together, with citizens from all walks of life contributing to the war effort. From war bonds to victory gardens, every small act was a step towards a collective goal. It was a time when the nation stood as one, united by a common purpose. The arrival of American troops on the Western Front brought a renewed sense of hope. These fresh forces, full of vigor and determination, bolstered the weary Allied lines. Their presence signaled a turning point, infusing the front with new energy and optimism. The tide of war was beginning to shift. American soldiers displayed extraordinary valor on the battlefield. Their bravery and tenacity played a crucial role in the final offensives that pushed the Central Powers to the brink. With each passing day, the prospect of an armistice grew closer. The courage of these men paved the way for the end of the conflict. The end of World War I marked the beginning of a transformed America. The nation emerged stronger, with a newfound sense of identity and purpose. The sacrifices made during the war had a lasting impact, shaping the country's future in profound ways. America had changed, and it was ready to face the challenges of a new era. Please subscribe to our channel for more insightful content on historical events.